What's going on, everybody? It's the Hook Cam back again with another film preview, prediction, whatever you want to call it. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Cleveland Browns will play this Saturday, and I wanted to give my thoughts on that game. The Browns coming off of one of the most historic wins in franchise history, and without a doubt, they're going to ride a tremendous amount of momentum going into that game. They basically did whatever they wanted. They ran the ball at will. They were able to pick Big Ben off. There was a lot of great things that they got from that game. When I look at the Kansas City Chiefs and I think about what could come to fruition in the game this Saturday, I just don't see the team that turns the ball over like the Steelers did on Sunday. The Steelers ended up with 5 turnovers, I believe, altogether, and they basically spotted the Browns 14 points at the beginning of that game. Now, again, I don't want to take away from what the Browns did because it's an awesome win for Cleveland. They deserve it. It's been a long time, and I think that's awesome. I really do. I love seeing an underdog like that get a chance and be in a position to upset a team like the Chiefs. But at the end of the day, do I think it's going to happen? I'm sorry, I just don't. And the reason why is because the Chiefs, one of the biggest things about their offense is they don't turn the rock over. They don't do it. They're great about protecting the football. And on top of that, they go and they add a back like Le'Veon Bell and Clyde Edwards-Helaire throughout this season, and it takes even more pressure off Patrick Mahomes to go and sling the rock and obviously create that chance of a turnover. Before I dive too far into this, by the way, if you like this video, if you like what I put out there, if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to my channel, The Hook Cam, that would mean the absolute world to me. Channel's growing a little bit here and there, and I really appreciate all the support that I get. It's been a lot of really cool, positive stuff, so I really appreciate that, especially in these hard times we're all going through. If I can provide you guys a little bit of content to get through the day, I am more than happy to do that. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into this film breakdown. Now, why do I think the Chiefs are going to win? Well, when we take a look at the Browns' previous game, okay, the Steelers, like I said before, that was not the Steelers that we're used to seeing. Unless it is, and I just haven't watched the Steelers this regular season, but this was probably one of the worst games I've ever seen Big Ben play. I mean, a play like this, right? Really simple, just hit your check down, he floats it over his head. Easy pick for the Cleveland Browns, right? There's your first turnover. Second turnover right here. I mean, this dude's open, right? He's going to work into this space right here. That's where he's working. Big Ben just floats that thing right over his head. Ends up getting picked off for the Browns, right? It was just a snowball effect for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the favor of the Cleveland Browns, and I just don't see that happening again with Kansas City. I don't see them making those mistakes. And just to kind of show you guys a really simple pass that Big Ben was just missing on, he's looking to hit Eric Ebron in the flat right here, and he just sails this ball. I mean, this is stuff that every quarterback should be able to do on any day, and Big Ben just didn't have it the other day, right? He kind of got it back as the game went on. That's that vet in him where, you know, no matter what the score is, no matter what's happening, he's able to flush it, go to the next play, and get some yardage. That's kind of what happened, but at the end of the day, the Browns basically were spotted 14 points. Now, moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs. I know what you're thinking. Why is the Super Bowl from last year on my screen? Let me explain. The defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns is Joe Woods. Joe Woods was on the defensive staff for the 49ers last year. There are similarities between the way the San Francisco 49ers ran their defense last year and the way the Browns run their defense this year. Ultimately, what am I getting at? I'm a big third down guy. If you can find ways to convert third downs, you're going to put your team in a position to win the football game. That's just the way I believe in offenses. If you can find ways to convert on third down, and the schematics of what I believe in is kind of besides the point, ultimately, if you can convert on third, you're going to find ways to win. And this is kind of what happens with the Cleveland Browns, right? This is kind of how they play their third down defense, especially early in games. We're going to press. We're going to challenge you. We're going to challenge you on the outsides. And sometimes it works, right? And you can tell Joe Woods, he brings some of this stuff over to the Cleveland Browns. You saw it a little bit in that Steelers game, how I broke it down, right? It was pretty straightforward. They were just running man on third. Now, what happens when you do that against the Chiefs, though? Because that's a different story. The Chiefs have so much speed and talent on the outsides that it's so tough to do that all game. You have to mix up your coverages. They'll find ways to get creative, just like this right here, right? They're going to roll Mahomes out to his left, run Sammy Watkins on a really cool little switch and curl, I guess I would call that, right at the sticks, right? They do stuff like this to find ways to get open. You can't stay in the same thing, right? All right, well, here's a big 3rd and 15. Chiefs fans will notice this play. The Niners are going to drop into a really simple cover 3, right? But this is something that the Chiefs are so special at that literally nobody else in the NFL can do, right? And I talked about this all last year. They're running routes that are 40, 50 yards downfield, and they're able to get it off in time because their receivers are so fast and because Mahomes' arms are so damn strong. So then I was looking through, what are some other defenses that are kind of similar to what the Browns run? The Saints run a similar version of this 4-3 where they like to go with their man on third down. And this is kind of the stuff that you can't account for with Patrick Mahomes in a situation where, okay, we've got everything locked up. We're looking great right here off the snap. He's looking to his 3 receiver side. We're locked up across the board. Okay, but then he comes back to his backside dig, right? Who's he got back there? Chances are it's going to be a Sammy Watkins, who's a salty vet in the league. He knows how to get away from DBs. And then you've got a young buck Q, who's an absolute freak talent-wise, who's able to move around in the pocket, get out of sacks, keep his eyes downfield, and deliver a 15 to 20-yard ball downfield that's going to be on the money. That's that X factor. That's that intangible that you can't really account for. How about this on third down? You know what? Screw it. We're going to man up. We're going to give him a too high safety look. Let's try and mess with Mahomes a little bit. Stuff like this doesn't bother him. And on top of that, Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, they have ways to get Pat out of trouble and find ways to get dudes the ball. I mean, stuff like this is insane, right? And this is stuff we see from him every weekend, so it kind of loses its significance to us. But, I mean, he's dropping back in the pocket, and everything's covered up to start, right? All he has to do is basically chew up time while he's in the pocket and wait for one of these guys to get open. And this is what they do, especially when you're trying to run man, right? You're trying to confuse them. You're trying to, hey, we're just going to bully up on these receivers. All right, that's great, but they got to do with Kelsey, who, as much as he's not the best blocker in the world, he's a phenomenal route runner. And he's going to work up here. He's going to make that contact and then break away from you because he's bigger, and chances are he's going to be lined up with the defensive back. And if he's lined up with a linebacker, he's going to be able to separate without even making contact and find space to get open. And the other thing that I really think the Browns lack when going into this game and talking about Kelsey really kind of made me think about this. I don't think they have the backers to run with guys like Kelsey or whoever they're working over the middle, especially if it's, Sammy Watkins on a backside dig, if it's Travis Kelsey working into the middle of the zone, right? If it's stuff like that, I just don't think that the Cleveland Browns have the athleticism at backer to do that. And then on top of that, all right, okay, so going back to the Niners, what's something that they tried to do, right? Try to mix up your coverages, okay? Give Pat too high to look at, and then let's roll into 3. Let's do something like that. All right, that's fine, but at the end of the day, if you're still pressed with Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, Demarcus Robinson, you name them, chances are one of those guys is going to get open, right? Sammy Watkins with an outstanding move right here on Richard Sherman. He ends up breaking away. Beautiful ball from Pat right in the bucket. The Chiefs find ways to win on the outsides. That's kind of the biggest thing that I'm talking about is while the Browns defensively look solid, I think that Kansas City is going to find ways to win on the outsides, really no matter what coverage they go in. Now, to add another feather to the cap of the Kansas City Chiefs, they have been running the football exceptionally well this year. Has it been crazy? Has it been like, oh my God, Clyde's running for, over 1,200 yards? No, but they've been effective with it when it matters. And this is the stuff that I see from the Kansas City Chiefs, especially in playoff time, right? Especially when we're in the playoffs. You have to find ways to manipulate defenses in critical situations, right? What we're looking at right here from a defensive perspective, just from the box, is 11 personnel. Yeah, we probably got Kelsey out here, but we're probably going to treat him as a receiver and put a defensive back on him. We're lined up in our nickel package, right? We got a little bit of an over G look right here. We got him lined up on the inside shoulder of the guard, him on the outside shoulder of the guard. I would call this over G. Now, what the Chiefs do is they work 48 out, right? So it looks like it's going to be that RPO where he's the read guy. They work these two cats upfield to the mic, right? As that tight end works out, it's going to take this backer with him, hand that ball off to Clyde, let him go and get some yardage. I mean, they've done such a good job in specifically of attacking the edges of a defense, right? Right here, this is just going to be good old-fashioned power. Chiefs still have it in them to run this stuff. They don't do it as much because they don't have to, but Clyde's phenomenal at running stuff like that. But they do, like I said, bringing me back to attacking the edges of a defense. This is where they're really, really good at. And this is where stuff that 15 does that not a lot of people talk about. Obviously, people talk about how athletic he is and how football savvy he is, but he's really good at running the speed option stuff. I hate running speed option just as a coach. I hate running it. But if you can do it right, you put this dude in the edges of that defense in a really, really difficult situation. Right? So just on this play alone, we're going to give this dude a really messed up look because he's playing the shoulder of this tackle. So as this tackle works down right here, it looks like inside zone to him, right? Oh, I'm getting inside zone. I'm going to squeeze this gap. Okay, you squeeze the gap. We're working up to this backer right here with Kelsey, and we just optioned you. Not only did we just option you, but we force you to make a decision. So now you're working inside on this. It's going to be an easy pitch to Clyde. Really good block from Travis Kelsey on there. Of course, as soon as I said he wasn't that great of a blocker, and we're picking up a big first down with Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
The Chiefs have so many ways to attack you on offense. They have so many ways to mess with your keys, to mess with how you're fit your run gaps, to mess with your coverage. Everything that they do, you have to be 2 or 3 steps ahead of them. Really, the only guy that we've seen who's played Patrick Mahomes and played him well is Belichick. And even that's kind of like you're just hoping to contain Patrick Mahomes. And that's because they mixed up coverages. They dropped into 2, they dropped into 3, they're dropping into quarters, read 2. They are always mixing it up so he can never really get into a rhythm. I haven't seen that from the Browns yet this year. I haven't seen that, which makes me think, why would they go and all of a sudden change it? Now, maybe they do. Maybe they do. I would tend to think, though, that it's because they run the same thing, they're proud of what they run, and they're going to stick to it. If they come out and they switch it up and they go zone, the thing is that if they do that, the Chiefs are going to catch on, and they're going to be able to switch what they're doing, and they're going to be able to find holes in that coverage. Now, enough about the Chiefs offense because I'm going on like 10 minutes in this video. Let's talk Browns offense and Chiefs defense. This is going to be the major counterpoint, I believe, for the Browns. Obviously, Nick Chubb is an absolute stud. He's running over dudes. The Browns have their running game going. They're running wide zone. They're running trap. They're doing a bunch of stuff that me as an O-line guy, I get super geeked about, right? But we've seen this before. We have seen this before. Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans last year were this team. What did the Chiefs do? And I talked about this in my preview video for them. They're going to get into 5-man fronts, and they're going to try and dominate the line of scrimmage. That's what you have to do. They're going to get into this 5-man under because it's an absolute terror of a front to go up against. And what I mean by that is this is the strength of our offensive line, right? This is the strength of the offense. Bringing this backer down. We're going to bump our defensive end into a 4-eye. We got our nose tackle in a 1-tech to the strength of the formation, right? Now we've added 3 dudes to this side. We have our 3-tech on the backside, and of course our defensive end. What the Chiefs did is that, honestly, they were just way more physical at the point of attack. And it sounds corny, and I hate saying stuff like that because it's like, okay, well, what's the coaching point? Just be better? No. It's a mindset that they have to have. They're getting off low pad level. They're shooting their hands right into the chest of the offensive lineman. I mean, this is how you take on a double team right here with this defensive end. That's it. We're trying to split it, not getting moved at all, right? And we're beating them to the point of attack. That's how it's done. Okay, and the Chiefs did this last year, right? Here's another thing. They're not going to get mismatched with personnel. If this dude beats us on a play, great, he beats us on a play. But we're not going to let this guy run crazy, right? And you see that with stuff like this, because what we have here is just your classic 4-3 over front. I'm imagining that they're calling this the strength either because it's the field or because they have 2 receivers out there. We have our 3-tech over the guard, our 1-tech on the backside, and then, of course, our 2 defensive ends are just standing up. But what do we have in the box? We have all 3 backers in the box, right? This right here is basically telling this offense, you are not going to outmatch us with manpower in this situation, right? Which is exactly what they do, okay? This is exactly what they do. They're trying to run this weak side zone with a lead with their fullback. We're working here. We're working these 2, I believe, up to there, and then our fullback's trying to kick out. Once you see this, beat them to the point of attack. We got to fill right now. We can't let Derrick Henry bounce this, so we got to be great on the edge right here. And that's exactly what they do, man. And they're great on the backside with their blocks. They're not giving up, high motor. This is the Steve Spagnuolo offense that is so hard to deal with in the playoffs. And then, of course, they'll find ways to get into different fronts, right? I would count this as a 5-man front, but it's basically the same thing. You're making it more of a difficult block for the center. He's now going to deal with this linebacker who's standing up on a wide zone. That's tough to do, as you can see right there. And then, of course, we're great on the edge with Frank Clark. None of these guys are going anywhere either, right? All these guys are still in there playing, unless I'm wrong and Frank Clark's not healthy. I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong about that. But this is where the Chiefs are winning in the playoffs. It's because this defense, they get the little things right by the time they end up in the playoffs. Now, of course, I just want to put these clips in there to show you that the Steelers were not doing this, right? The Steelers were not respecting what the Browns' running game was. And we can see that right here, right? This is more of like a pass rushing front, I would think. Right? This is just getting set up to get wide zone run at you to the weak side of this formation. We're working here, working up to 34, working this backside. I mean, this is just plain and easy stuff to do, right? You're getting outmatched. You're getting mismatched at the point of attack. And the Steelers did this, and this is why they weren't winning this football game. They finally did it later in the game, but honestly, early on, when Nick Chubb was going for a ton of yards per carry, that's what they were doing. And then the last thing I want to talk about is this third down defense from the Chiefs, because this to me is the cherry on top, and this to me is where they're going to get the Browns uncomfortable. They do such a good job of bringing pressure on third down. We saw this all year in the playoffs last year, right? They're bringing their fire zones. They're doing a great job of matching up, getting into their gaps, right? Delayed blitzing is exactly what Spagnuolo is all about. That's how he beat Brady in 07, right? He delayed. We brought this dude, but he brought him late, whoever it was back then, right? So it looks to me, right, looks at the back like, oh, we're just matching up one-on-one with the back. We're sliding him into this gap. We're beating those guys at the guard position, right? We're running stunts. All of this stuff is what the Chiefs do and what they're good at. And a play like this right here, right, they're only rushing 4, but they do a great job of running stunts and twists up front to get these guys in uncomfortable situations. Hopefully I covered everything about this game that I wanted to. Have been talking for me 16 minutes. I'll edit the hell out of this bad boy though. But you can see what I'm talking about, right? It's bringing that heat on third down. It's finding ways to confuse offensive lines, which this is just the key to it to me. Like, this is such a beautiful third down blitz, right? We're going to line up to Passanio right here on the weak side of the center, stunt him across. I believe they stunt 56 in, just stuff like that. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And then we delay blitz this dude too, so the back's not going to see us, even though we got Sorensen right here for the back. I mean, I've broken this play down 1,000 times, and it just looks better and better every time, man. And then I wanted to tie this back into the Browns. Baker does struggle with some stuff like this, right? And this to me is a perfect example of that. We're going to see Baker have his eyes on the line, right? And he gets worried, and he should be, right? We got 2 right here on 1 right here. That's either a screw up on the offensive line not switching the protection, or it's a screw up on him not switching the protection. Depends on what it looks like pre-snap, right? Or what their rules are. But Baker does sometimes get a little freaked out in the pocket with stuff like this, and this to me is where I think the Chiefs are really going to separate themselves from the Browns on Saturday. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to my channel, The Hook Cam, as well as to Jackson Kruger Sports, that would mean the world to both of us. That's all I got for today. Stay safe, wash those hands, and I'll see you next time.